I really wasn't going to do a live on this because Nigel Nicholson has already done a live on this exact article that I'm talking about now. So please go to his channel on YouTube, Nigel Nicholson. He is on YouTube. He is another TI and he has been consistently making videos every day. So go and check out his channel. Let me just wipe this down a second. But I had to talk about this. You know, I've already mentioned it on my Twitter. And I've mentioned it on my Empress Justice Tarot Twitter. So you know it was serious. If it's serious enough for me to mention it on there, then you know this shit is serious. What I actually want to talk to you about is this article right here. Now, again, I caught this article through Nigel, so shout out to him. But when I first saw this article, or first saw the video of this article, I got excited. I'm thinking, okay, let me just look this up. And sure enough, more lies. US intelligence report says Havana Syndrome probably wasn't caused by energy weapons. Once again, this is where I have to go through everything with you guys and decipher everything. So US intelligence report says Havana Syndrome probably wasn't caused by energy weapons. So what they're saying is they don't know for sure. All they have at this point are probabilities. And if there's probabilities behind it, then most likely the intelligence report is not factual at all or is lying somewhere. Now, I'm going to continue. It says it's highly unlikely that Russia is using ray guns to give US personnel nausea and headaches. Well, it would be unnecessary for Russia to do that because several nations around the world are actually trading in these weapons. It's not just Russia, it's not just Israel, it's not just Iraq. Globally, these weapons are already being traded among each other, and they have been traded among each other for decades. So the fact that Russia is being placed in the spotlight, I find it rather convenient considering we have a war in the Ukraine right now. So this is actually planting seeds in people's heads that might actually make them think that Russia is responsible, that either Russia is responsible, or they're planting seeds in people's minds to keep the focus on the Russia versus Ukraine conflict. Because why is it called Havana Syndrome and then Russia comes up? Do you understand what I'm saying? And understand that the nausea and headaches that, Havana Syndrome is being called because it happened apparently it was discovered in Cuba. Notice again how these injuries and this type of weaponry are being attached to former communist countries. So none of this is by accident. This is multi-layered, nuanced propaganda that's meant to confuse you so that you can try to find the simplicities within what they're saying rather than actually paying attention to the lies that they're feeding us, right? So it's highly unlikely that Russia is using ray guns to give US personnel nausea and headaches. Well, they don't need to give us anything. They don't need to give the US anything, and they don't need to give the UK anything because the US and the UK are using their own weapons on their own people. So that part is highly unlikely that Russia is using it. Yeah, it's your own country using it. That's why. Why else would US intelligence people or ex-government people that have suffered from Havana Syndrome, why would they need to be paid off by the US government if the US government doesn't even know who's doing it? Why are you paying them compensation before you even find out what's going on? Do you see something isn't clicking? But let me continue on with the article, right? Energy weapons are real. So this article was written by Sean Buckley, and it says energy weapons are real. Military and weapons researchers have developed microwave guns and lasers that can be used to disable soldiers or shoot down drones, because again, it's designed to attack personnel or equipment. But a new report from the CIA and other intelligence agencies say that these kinds of weapons probably aren't responsible for the condition known as Havana Syndrome. Now, let me look up the article that said Havana Syndrome was psychosomatic. Okay. Right. So there's this book by these two cunts here, Robert E. Bartholomew and Robert W. Ballo, saying, is Havana Syndrome an act of war or mass hysteria? So this article right here appears to be arguing the point. Hang on a second. Let me just see if I can scroll downwards. This article appears to be saying that this is psychosomatic and that this is not real. Let me just see. I've got to continue with... okay, continue. Oh, they want me to subscribe. Let me find another one. But you see what I'm saying, right? So Havana Syndrome, first it was psychosomatic, and that it was the delusional fantasies of people who had nothing better to do. So there's a whole book released talking about how Havana Syndrome is or isn't real, right? So yeah, so there's a whole book out talking about Havana Syndrome, mass psychogenic illness. Like, so first it's a mass psychogenic illness. First of all, it's not, okay, so it seems like defense systems are indirectly paying off the media, and because of that, they can't keep up with their lies. So first of all, first it was real because they were reporting ringing in the ears, nausea and headaches from a US embassy in Cuba, right? Hence the term Havana Syndrome. So first it's real, then it's mass hysteria and it's not real. Then the US government themselves have confirmed that it is real. Let me find the conference right now, the conference, US conference for meeting. Havana Syndrome. So then the Senate passes the bill to aid victims of Havana Syndrome. So in the Senate passed the bill to basically compensate victims of Havana Syndrome before they even know what's caused it or who's caused it, right? And then on top of that, the US Senate meeting actually treated Havana Syndrome as if it was real. So first it's real, then it isn't real, then it is real. And the whole thing of this thing right here, Havana Syndrome continues to sound extremely fake. Immaculate concussion. Yeah, so there's no evidence that such a weapon has been found. And Cuba and Russia have denied they were behind any such targeted attacks. So basically, Havana Syndrome is real, then it's not real, and no evidence of this militarized technology has been found. And then it is real again because the US government have passed a bill to aid the victims. And now we've got a situation where it's been confirmed that yes, energy weapons are real. Military and weapons researchers have developed microwave guns and lasers like TIs have been saying for fucking years. So now they are real. And they are used to disable soldiers or shoot down drones. And yet Havana Syndrome, the same nausea, ringing in the ears and headaches that many targeted individuals have been experiencing just happen to be coincidence. So they can't seem to get their motherfucking story straight. I'm just wondering how long they're going to drag this out before they finally admit, yes, we've been genociding our own public. And let's be absolutely real about the situation. We've got internet frequencies being used that are among the deadliest frequencies on the planet. Actually, from my conversations with Dr. Barry Trower, he actually informed me that the frequencies being used for the internet in this modern day and age are two of the deadliest frequencies that have been found in terms of human health and human. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're the two deadliest frequencies that have ever been found. So there's that. Then there's the nanotechnology that we have to consider, because nanotechnology contains graphene oxide, right? And now a lot of people are going to say that's misinformation, all that type of shit. That's why I have the other page, okay? So if anybody wants to go and report that, they can go and report that. So there's also graphene oxide in nanotechnology, which allows people to become more receptive. There's supposedly 6G that was going to come out. And with 6G as an internet frequency, or frequency in which we can use the internet, apparently with 6G, human bodies would become the receptors for this technology. How are they going to make human bodies the receptors for this technology without nanotech? Do you understand what I'm saying? So all these things are happening around the same time that directed energy weapons are coming to the forefront, and microwave weapons are coming to the forefront, and acoustic weaponry has already been used for crowd control. So all of this is happening around the same time, and yet all the injuries that happen to fall in line with the use of these weapons are somehow not caused by these weapons. Do you understand how much bullshit is being spun here? Do you understand? Do you really grasp the concept of how much bullshit is being spun right in front of our faces? I'm just trying to see how long they're going to drag this out before they finally admit how yes, we've been genociding everybody. I want to see how long it's going to take before they actually admit what they've been doing. Ridiculous. So first, the injuries aren't real, then they are real. Then the weapons are not real, then they are real. Then, because the communist countries are not involved, that means nobody's involved. Do you think we're fucking stupid? Do you honestly think we're stupid at this point? And we know how deep this fucking, this gangster fucking bullshit that the US have been doing and that the UK have been doing. We know how deep that shit goes, fam. How long do you think you're going to be able to keep lying to people? And this is why I don't shy from talking about it on my Empress Justice Tarot page. Because the same symptoms that have been spoken about with regards to Havana Syndrome, the ringing in the ears, the headaches, even the nausea, they have been attributed to DNA reactivation or DNA activation. The New Age community has been led to believe that these symptoms are symptoms of DNA activation. And the funny thing is, they could be right, but they don't know what type of DNA activation they're talking about. Because remember, nanotechnology, our DNA uses nanotechnology, and nanotechnology is in our DNA medicine. So when it's talking about DNA activation, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. But it ain't a fucking upgrade. It's transhumanism. It's not an upgrade. It's a way to make us more receptive to artificial technology and therefore to make us more controllable. That's what all of this is. And the same people who have been saying, I've been attacked, I have Morgellons and that. We have actually kept our story straight for years. You know who hasn't kept their story straight? Defense systems haven't kept their story straight. The military industry have not kept their story straight. Our governments have not kept their story straight. We are the ones who've been keeping our story straight. We are the ones who've been saying shit from the beginning. And only now everybody feels comfortable talking about it when it's far too late to fucking do anything. How many people have already been murdered as a result of this program and ain't nobody done shit? just flip-flopping, can't decide whether or not Havana Syndrome's real, can't decide whether or not the directed energy weapons are real. And now you want to pull that fucking punitive psychiatry stunt of saying, oh, well, if Russia, China, or Cuba are not doing it, that means it's not being done. Fuck you. We know what's going on. We know what's going on. And we know you've been killing people. And we know you've been enlisting the same people that you're murdering to murder other people. I told you guys that the perps in every community, because I'm an unlawful experimentee, right? I've told you that the perps in every community have been facilitating in my murder. I have told you guys that. But what I don't mention as much, even though I have mentioned it, what I don't mention is that the perps are being murdered too. Why do you think they were selected to begin with? Do you seriously think those people are going to be selective if they haven't already been brain damaged by the torture and not known it? How many of them were turned into addicts? How many of them were turned into sociopaths? Because sociopaths aren't born, they're made. How many of them have been adversely affected by their abuse more than the average person? For my mind, perps are just TIs that have been successfully turned. If you listen to the story of every TI, especially TI that have had family members betray them, they all say the same thing. Perps are nothing more than TIs that have been successfully turned and successfully programmed. So while we're being murdered, the perps are being murdered as well, and you don't even want to know what they're doing to the fucking higher end criminals that are doing this to us. If you think what we've got is anything, you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. Ain't nobody getting away scot-free from this shit. That's why you're better off saying no. That's why as a perp, you're better off not being a perp. You're better off being a TI. Because at least then you get to escape some of the torture, some of the worst torture that worse people than us go through. And then on top of that, you get to be on the right side of history. Not worth it. Not fucking worth it. Not worth it at all. I'm telling you that right now. They can't keep their story straight worth a shit. Now suddenly energy weapons and microwave weapons are real. Whereas before, in another article, they're just fantasy. Oh no, that's an opinion piece. So that's okay. When it comes to the whole Russia and Cuba thing, again, it's the same tactic pulled by punitive psychiatry. I've told punitive psychiatry, right? I've told the psychiatric profession that I am a victim of Havana Syndrome, right? And so what they'll do, right, is they will turn around and they will try to use this dichotomy of me either being mentally ill or Havana Syndrome being real. If I turn around and say that Havana Syndrome is real, then they will turn around and say that I don't believe that I'm mentally ill. Anybody who has seen my life and has witnessed the amount of times I've been let down by pretty much fucking everybody, they will know that I've had mental illness. The people in Harsden walked around talking about how I was mental. People in Kenton talked about how I was mental. They still do it now. People around here in Woodingdean talk about how I was mental. People in Hove talk about how I was mental. So how do you put together that Havana Syndrome, me saying that I have a Havana Syndrome, like means that I don't believe I have a mental illness? If I don't have people telling me I have a mental illness, I can literally feel it as a direct result of the abuse that I've sustained. There is no way in hell you're going to sustain as much abuse as I've sustained throughout my life without some mental illness. But this is exactly what punitive psychiatry does, because they are another arm of the military industry or the military industrial complex. They're another arm of it. So the way that they lie is very specific. If I say I have Havana Syndrome, that's why the psychiatric profession will turn around and say she doesn't believe she's sick. Notice, I've never said that I don't have any mental health issues. I've never said that. In fact, I can look on my medical records right now and find that I said, yes, I have these problems, but that's because of the torture that I'm going through. So whenever they say that Havana Syndrome isn't real and that I just have mental illness, okay, then where does the mental health illness come from? Your parents? Okay, that's bullshit, because there's no way in hell I'm just going to be abused by my parents. And that's all she wrote. Exactly what I'm saying. They use the facts to conflate the issue. My parents were not the ones firing electronic weapons on me. In fact, you've been firing electronic weapons on them. My own government have been doing that. Firing electronic weapons on them and worsening their illnesses. They have not been doing that to me. They have never done that. It's not my family that are constantly firing electronic weapons on me. And as much as they might have been mean to me or even abusive to me, there are certain levels in which both my mother and my father never took it, that the perps will. So this is exactly why psychiatry is so dangerous, because it acts as a henchman for the military-industrial complex in order to bury crimes that our own government have been doing to us. And they do it using the stereotypical therapy beats, like, what was your childhood like? I'm 30 fucking 8 years old. I'm 30 fucking 8 years old. Of course I remember my childhood, but the only reason why my childhood memories are still fresh in my mind is because I'm being tortured now. But my point is this. The same tactics that punitive psychiatry uses is the same tactic that defense systems use and that our governments use. Can't decide whether Havana Syndrome is real or not. Can't decide whether the weapons are real or not. But what they do want to do is they want to plant that seed in your mind of Russia, Cuba, any former communist countries, so that the US and the UK can look like the good guys or the bad guys, I don't know. And, you know, Russia or China or Cuba can look like the antithesis of that. This is just fucking pantomime. It is pro wrestling, and all our lives are being used as stage props. So they want to deny, they want to hold off from people knowing that our own countries have been genociding us. They want to hold us from us knowing that. They want to hold off from us knowing that, whilst at the same time planting seeds about other countries. So if Russia and China or Cuba are not doing it, then it's our own countries doing it, no? But they'll never admit that. They will never admit that. Nor will they admit that the entire globe have been trading electronic weapons among each other. They're never going to admit that shit. And in the meantime, they're just going to keep dragging it out in this pathetic fashion, shifting goalposts, gaslighting people, lying repeatedly whilst people end up being murdered. It's just going to be the same shit over and over again. I wasn't intending to be loud today because I've got the kids sleeping upstairs. Well, they're not my kids, so I shouldn't give a fuck. And plus, I've been the crying N-word for fucking 18 months. I shouldn't give a fuck whether they're sleeping or not. But I'm trying not to be loud because I don't want to mess up nobody's education. But this is just do you understand the bullshit that is happening, that is unfolding in front of us? I'm going to post all the links on top this video. Now, this video is probably going to be flagged or taken down. That's all right. I can live with that. But it's got to get out. It's got to get out, and people have got to know. There are continuous lies being told. Meanwhile, people are being hospitalized because of these fucking weapons. And I'm pretty sure that in my case, the fucking Navy is involved. In my case, anyway. I know the Navy have got to be involved. I've had Navy crawling up my arse since I've been here in Brighton, especially when I've been hospitalized by one of their weapons. Anyway, I've got to go, my darlings. Peace and blessings. You guys take care. Thank you for being with me today. I'm sorry this is not an easy subject matter to talk about, and I don't think I've explained myself very well, but hopefully you've got the gist. I love you guys. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.